Awesome. Episode 3 of the NJJA podcast. As always, a huge thank you to the Sherwood Foundation for making all this possible. Their support and generosity is something that keeps the Nebraska Juvenile Justice Association up and going. So, super excited about the podcast today. We have 4 very intelligent people here. The Juvenile Reentry Mentoring Podcast today. So we're going to talk about mentoring and what that looks like for those kids that are reentering the society. So we have Dr. Ann Hobbs.
Howdy.
Hi.
Good morning.
Jordan Pollack.
Palmer Fulton.
Palmer.
Mackenzie Matlack.
And Mackenzie. And as always, we have Tracy over making sure that we sound okay. So, all right. Juvenile reentry. Let's start there. Obviously, it's a juvenile justice podcast, so this is something that's near and dear to us. So, Dr. Hobbs, what are we talking about when we talk about juvenile reentry?
So we're talking about kids that have been in usually a detention facility, sometimes a youth rehabilitation and treatment center, sometimes even just a group home. What we try to do is we try to match a college student to these youth because lots of times they don't have visits, they don't have people come bring them treats, they don't have somebody to talk to. So we try to match students who will go out and start working with them in the facility and then help them and accompany them along the way as they come back into their community.
So these mentors, they're getting credits for this class and they get to make a difference in these kids' lives all at once.
You bet.
Wow.
You bet.
What a treat. Dr. Hobbs, tell us a little bit about yourself too. So obviously you are involved with these students. They're all UNL students. Are they? What? Tell me a little bit about how you get in contact with these young people.
You bet. So this class started as a Lancaster County project, but we are now on 5 campuses across the state of Nebraska. We're in and out of lots of different facilities. We've taught it for 15 semesters. So I teach predominantly on the UNL campus. So we recruit students. It's a year-long course. I come in, or they come in and they interview with me before they get to take the class because it's a really weird class.
Yeah. Even I, at 38 and been in minute interviews, I'm not sure I could handle that. So one of the biggest things that I want to make sure that we do at this podcast is talk to these young people that are doing the work. We've all been involved in juvenile justice in some way or another, and we have seen what mentors and relationships can do to these young people that are involved in the juvenile justice system. So, who wants to go first? Who wants to tell us a little bit about themselves and talk to us a little bit about why this was an interest of your guys's? Palmer, it looks like you have a interesting grin on your face, so I think we'll go to you first.
Well, I actually think so. My advisor honestly really sold it to me. I mean, she told me about the program a little bit, and then she was like, "Yep, you're gonna have to interview for it," which obviously was a little bit nerve-wracking. But I mean, just talking to Dr. Hobbs about the program, it just immediately caught my eye. You're getting college credit, you're out in the field doing stuff instead of just sitting in the classroom reading from a textbook. You really learn a lot about the juvenile justice system because you're there in it, you're hearing their real stories and stuff like that. So I think that was kind of the most appealing thing to me, was that you're actually out there making a difference and you're actually out there in the field as opposed to just sitting in a classroom reading information that everyone else is getting from a textbook.
That's a really good answer, and I kind of think about the olden days when I went to college, and what this would have meant for me, because my degree was in criminal justice, and I went to work with Cedars Youth Services straight out of college. I had no idea what to expect. Yeah. All I knew was, criminal justice and statistics and theory, and I didn't know what it looked like on a day-to-day basis, and having an opportunity like this for you all is simply something that is really, really special.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
And this project is huge in my world, and I love the project. I won't get into the reasons why right now. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But it's a really cool, and it must be an honor to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, it is. It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Mackenzie.
Okay.
What?
So not to say kind of the same thing that Palmer did, but my advisor also was the first person who kind of told me about it. But what made me so interested was I had worked with big brothers and big sisters in high school, so I had already been kind of in a mentor role. And also, I think as I changed my major to criminal justice my sophomore year, I really did know that I wanted to focus on kids when whatever I ended up doing. So I think the opportunity to get a look into kind of juveniles' experience in the criminal justice system, which isn't something that I think is talked about in the classroom as much. And then also an opportunity to just be a mentor, get a look into their life in the correctional system was a really good opportunity. And so that's why I wanted to be in the class.
Awesome. Thank you. Not last but not least.
I would have to say I chose this class because I saw posters around the criminal justice building saying, like, do you want to help children? Like, we're looking for criminal justice students wanting to be a mentor. And not to be cocky, but I've always known that people look up to me and I can be a leader. And I knew I could make a change in someone's life. And I took the opportunity and I sent an email and it all worked out.
It's so... You guys all had different answers, but what strikes me as really neat is you guys are young kids. I mean, you're young kids, and to be able to recognize that, I want to give back, and that there's so many kids out there that younger than you that can benefit from that time spent. It's really neat to see, and I admire that in you guys. I'm not sure I could have done that at your age, but it's just really cool to see.
So one of the things I'd like to jump in and point out is this isn't like a traditional mentoring project or program. Like, the students don't get to kind of like meet with the youth in Lincoln. Most of the students have to drive at least 2.5 hours to meet with the youth. The men in the class have to drive 2.5 hours one way. So the men are driving from UNL to Kearney. So it is a huge commitment. That's why I interview students. Is I tell them, like, this is a class that's hard in a totally different way. It's not like textbook hard. It's hard, like, imagine the day you promised your kid you're going to drive out to Kearney. There's a blizzard, I-80's shut down, your boss calls you for work, and you have a paper due. It's hard, like that kind of class hard.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, look, we all work in juvenile justice, and we understand that we're not working. It's a difficult population to work with until you develop that relationship, and they're not always interested in someone that they don't know coming and talking with them. And that's half the battle right there is trying to break down that door and getting them to buy into that trust. And so I can't imagine what you guys have to go through, but it's just admirable to be a part of. So I'm sure you guys all do amazing work for these kids. I'm interested in what do you learn? What do you learn from these kids? Because at 38 now, as of yesterday, I learn a lot every single day from the kids that we work with at Cedars, and it never stops. So does anybody want to kind of just give me a little bit of a tidbit on what they're learning from these kids that they're mentoring?
Yeah, I think I actually learned a lot. I mean, I came into college knowing I wanted to do something in the criminal justice field, knowing that law school was always kind of on the horizon. But I was really like, I want to be a prosecutor. It was really because of like the Brock Turner Stanford Summer case that was like the reason I really got into law. But working with these kids, it's really shown me that like every kid has a story behind their actions. And it's not just these kids going out and doing these acts because they want, like, well, yes, they have some choice, but there's so many things that have led up to why they're in the facility. And I think just kind of having that like eye-opening experience that like really every person kind of has a story to tell, and you don't really know what that is until you really dive deep into it. And I mean, it took probably a good 3, 4, maybe even 5 visits for my girl just to open up to me, because they've just been through so much that they are so closed off. And I think that has definitely probably been the biggest impact that it's had on me. Just like they do have a story to tell, and I'm happy that I sat down and had the time to figure out that story with them.
Paul, you it sounds like you're currently mentoring as today. You have a mentee today? Yeah,
we all still have mentees today.
Yep. How long have you been working with her?
She's just January. It had to been beginning of
Oh, wow.
January. So
this isn't a 6 week endeavor. This
No.
is a
Oh no, this is
a-
multi-year
Yeah.
endeavor.
yeah, she's been going through some things. I mean, I'm still trying to reach out to her. She's now in McCook, Nebraska, because they sent her out there just, I think to kind of get her away from not a bad relationship, but
just to put her in a better situation.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, I mean, definitely since she's out in McCook, definitely communication has been lacking. But I have her on Facebook, I have her on social media. I'll keep checking up on her right there on that. So I even said I sent her a message probably about a month ago. I was like, I know that we aren't as close anymore, but if you need anything, let me know. So it's definitely not a 6 week and done type thing. They'll still reach out to you.
That's really cool to hear. Anybody else want to share? Mackenzie, what are you learning? What's the biggest thing you're getting out of these relationships?
Well, so I just wanted to say also, you were saying it's not 6 weeks. I've had my girl since fall of 17 or 18.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah, I have to look it up. It might
It's
be.
2019 right now.
2018. So I've had mine for a full year. Because you've had a couple of mentees. So it's definitely an ongoing relationship. My girl is still in the facility in Kearney. She was moved from Geneva to Kearney. So, sometimes you don't get the opportunity to do the full re-entry with them. But kind of bouncing off something that Palmer said, I think it's really easy to get caught up in the laws and the rules and everything that comes with criminal justice. And these kids just really teach you how many people don't get the foundations that, some people think just come with life. And I think my girl was on run when she was 13 or 14, had been kicked out of the house. And I just imagine myself as a 13-year-old girl, living on the streets. And so I think one of the most important things it teaches you is just to give everyone grace. Like Palmer said, everyone has a story. And yeah, I think it's really good for all criminal justice students to see that side, because for me, it definitely changed, my outlook. Now I want to be a public defender. Yeah. So yeah, I think it just kind of, it lets you see all sides of the story. Yeah.
Awesome.
One thing I learned was that not every youth is going to be a success story. I got matched with my mentee back in August last year, and he got released from Kearney in January, and very shortly after he got sent back to the Hastings Regional Center on more adult gun charges and drug charges. And just last week I found out he was going to be a father, so he has a lot on his plate for 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with, you just mentioned that he did some additional things and got some additional law violations. Just because they're having a mentor now doesn't mean it's going to take effect now. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years before they fully believe in what you were saying, before that sinks in. And I won't say that I can't wait until you're my age, because you don't want to be my age. But I guarantee the relationships that you have now, at some point they're going to come back and they're going to see you on the street and they're going to say, the impact that you had on my life was absolutely ridiculous. And you'll never probably have a better feeling other than, family and things like that. So I do look forward to those times that that's going to happen, because it will happen. So Ann, tell me a little bit about the matching process. So we have kids who are in Kearney, Geneva, wherever they may be. How much before the release date are these mentee-mentor relationships started?
Ideally about 5 or 6 months before, because and that's very intentional. The reason is really we need time for that kind of trust to develop and for people to get to know each other. Every once in a while, the facility will pull a youth forward that really gets no visits, and then that maybe doesn't, if we don't have enough time for the student to spend with them, then sometimes that match just doesn't come together. But generally about 5 months, the students will be driving long distances. Now, Mackenzie has ended up with a special match. She's now a year. The youth has been in the facility over a year. Sure. So it doesn't work ideally, but ideally the students go out. We do like a round robin kind of speed dating thing, and they meet all the different youth they could match up with, and then the students make a recommendation of who they'd like to work with. if the youth are allowed, we also will take their recommendation.
Oh, neat.
So it's amazing every semester how it comes together, because it's really just, there's a certain chemistry between people and friendships form. And it's been a really good way to match youth to students. So
was this something that you dreamed up, Dr. Hobbs, or I mean, how did this start?
Oh no, I stole it.
You stole it? Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
stole
all
it.
right.
Dr. Roger Jarjuro years and years and years ago did a similar program in Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, so we one of my students actually did the research and found it, and then they proposed it to me, and I thought, okay, we'll try this for one semester. But I totally actually, I don't know if I ever told you this in class, but I thought it was going to fail, because we're matching like students that are undergraduates that don't have like usually even their first year of work experience, and then we're matching them to the highest level kids in the state. So I kind of thought it might be a disaster, but we thought, well, we'll try it one semester. So it's been a wonderful success. Like 6 years,
absolutely.
7 years later now.
Yeah. It's really neat to hear. So obviously there's an interview process, so it's not an easy thing to get through to be able to be these mentors. What would you tell other kids that are interested in doing this type of thing, whether they're 15 in high school now or maybe even a freshman, sophomore in college? What would you tell them? Anybody?
Yeah, I can go. I would say, okay, yeah, just like you said, the interview, it's not even that much of an interview, Dr. Hobbs. I think she just wants to meet us. But don't let things like that turn you away or scare you. It's a life-changing experience. It really, really does wonderful things for these kids. And, something that we haven't really talked about is everything that Dr. Hobbs does in the classroom for us too. We're not just going and meeting with these kids. We're also spending time in class with Dr. Hobbs, learning, interviewing techniques and the ways to mentor these kids. And I think, learning how to be a mentor can help you, outside this class and in all aspects of your life, just leadership skills and everything. So yeah, don't let the interview or anything scare you away. It's a great class.
Oh yeah, definitely don't let the interview scare you away. I think it was more of just like, this is the time commitment you're going to have.
Sure.
And it kind of, it does prepare you, like, because it is a big time commitment. But I think what I would tell people is go for it. If you're even thinking about it, do it, because it honestly it changed my perspective on almost like the whole criminal justice system. Like I remember after my first meeting with her, I called my mom and I was just like, oh my gosh, like it really does open like a whole other door to this criminal justice system. And like Mackenzie said earlier, I feel like the juvenile justice system isn't talked about in the classroom as much. So really all of our in-class work really gets you like prepared for what like you could potentially see. There's no way that we can cover every situation that happens in the classroom, but it really does help prepare you for what you're going to see and kind of like the stories they tell you. And these girls, they have, and guys too, they've gone through a lot, and it's honestly just it's helped me outside of the classroom with like talking to people about like things that they're going through and stuff like that. So definitely if you're even thinking about it, I would do it, because it's had such an impact on my outlook of life.
That's cool. Jordan?
If you're thinking about taking this class, I would have to say that there is a lot of female roles in this particular situation. There's probably 20 females and 3 guys in the entire class.
Yeah.
And then ultimately it let me choose to do my internship at Cedars, where I saw the same thing, that it was a lot of women working.
You ain't got to tell me.
There's not really men that work with these young
juveniles, yeah.
Yeah, juvenile. Yeah, you can cut that.
It's really too bad though,
Yeah,
right?
it
Because
is.
like
Men, step up. Let's go.
Yeah.
watching the guys in the class, like there's something that happens that's so powerful, and it's really too bad. I wish I could shout that from the
It switched my
rooftops.
future thoughts on what I was going to do for the rest of my life. That's why I chose to do my internship at Cedars, is because working with children.
But you had a great experience.
Yeah.
That's right?
And there were so few guys in the class. I don't know about you, Palmer, but I think it was cool for us to hear kind of just the different dynamics that you and Dylan had with your matches compared to us, because yours was older and, and my girl was a lot younger than me. So I think it's cool to just see the different kind of relationships that form.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's a mentor? I mean, we can sit here and say mentee and mentor over and over and over, but I mean, what is your guys' definition of what a mentor is? It may be different, depending on the person. So I'm interested. Mackenzie, what you say the word mentor? What is it?
I think, a mentor is, especially in my role, somebody who uses their past experience to, help somebody. I really focused on goal setting with my girl. I think it depends. I think it's different when somebody's in a facility. Oh, sorry. In a facility, in a correctional facility. But I think somebody who just, helps with goal setting, helps with, just growing and not letting, trauma or any negatives in their, not letting them use negatives in their life to keep them down or use them as excuses for not growing in their life.
Anybody else have thoughts on that? I mean, because here's the thing is we hire so many different people at Cedars, and some of them have the different life experiences they have is obviously different from person to person. We have you hire people that have been involved in the juvenile justice system and have had unfortunate upbringings, but then you also hire people that, like me, who have never experienced stuff like that. So it takes a special person to be able to kind of utilize all their past experiences and figure out how they're going to make an impact on these kids' lives. So, Palmer, what's a mentor to you?
Yes. So I think, especially for this program, a mentor is a consistent person in their life who is going to follow through on what they say, who is going to be that person that's there to set goals and kind of take a step back and help them see the bigger picture of their actions and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of these juveniles, they're doing things without thinking through the process. And I feel like me sitting down with my girl and being like what were your thoughts leading up to this? And like, how could, instead of you taking this action, we could do this instead. So kind of just taking a step back and like working through and having someone who's there to consistently like talk with them through these issues and stuff like that. And a lot of these juveniles, they don't have family that come and visit them. So you're really like, I know my girl, she wrote me a letter and she was like, thanks for being the sun on a cloudy day.
Wow. That was awesome.
Yeah. So it's just, I think, someone who's consistently there for them and who they know that they can count on you, and just to honestly, just to talk with them, because I think that's what they want, is just a companion there who's willing to listen and not judge, and just kind of be with them through kind of everything that they're doing while they're trying to figure out this process.
You talked a lot about follow through and doing what you say you're going to do, and I don't want to speak for Dr. Hobbs, but any student that's out there that can make promises and not follow through on those promises, don't sign up.
Oh,
yeah.
Because these
you
kids
can speak for me.
Yes. That's one of the biggest things that our young people struggle with is having those adults who's going to follow through with what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
And is one of the building blocks in relationship building. And so by all means, if you can't do that, Dr. Hobbs is not for you. So
Absolutely. Yep. And in the interview that I do, I think I told all of you, I have no qualms. I will flat out give you an F if you diss on a kid. So, yep.
Jordan, what's a mentor to you? What are we talking about when we're talking about a mentor?
With my mentee, I would have to say I helped him a lot by putting myself in his shoes, because I was his age. I did the same stuff he did, maybe not as serious, but
you just didn't get caught.
Yeah, I just didn't get caught, and that's what it ultimately comes down to.
It's recorded, Jordan.
It ultimately comes down to that. Everyone does stupid stuff.
Yeah,
and
most kids.
Yeah. And if you get caught, then you have to deal with the situation, and having someone that's older there for you and has done stupid stuff, I mean, that is a mentor, and they're willing to help you get through whatever situation you're going through.
I think if you looked at a mentor as somebody who had a perfect background with no issues ever, I think you're looking at the wrong people. Yes, can they be mentors? Absolutely. But if you shy away from people that have, I don't even want to use the word questionable histories, but may have been in trouble with the law here and there, sometimes those are your best mentors.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys do with the kids? I mean, you sit in a room and you just look at each other and I mean, what do you guys do? What's the fun things that we can do?
Well, honestly, for the first couple of visits, yeah.
Sure.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
But I know that while we were in the facility, we really worked on because she was gonna get out in like 2 months or something like that when I matched with her. So she was just like, why am I here? What is keeping me here? Like, why? And I'm like, because you want to get out. That's the goal. So we made a list of things that we would do together once we were out. Mm-hmm. So I know some of them was like going to the Sunken Gardens here in Lincoln. Sure. We had like movie and dinner on there. So just kind of little things like that. And obviously talking through kind of their days. And I think my mentee liked that the most because I think there were so many things going on. So having one person to talk about it all with, she was able to kind of organize her thoughts. Mm-hmm. So I think that probably helped the most was just setting goals for what to do once out of the facility and just honestly having someone there to listen to her.
Mm-hmm. So kids want to be kids. They want to go to movies. They want to eat. They want to eat McDonald's. They want to eat junk food.
Yes.
How is that paid for? I mean, how does that work? Do you guys pick it up out of your own pocket? Is there federal funds, or excuse me, maybe not federal, but funds out of the grant that we're working with? Or
I was like, what are you speaking federal
dollars?
Didn't you hear a muffin gate? No. So over the years, we've had a variety of different funding sources, but right now we're funded through the Sherwood Foundation.
Oh, you are?
And it's
Sherwood.
really good because students really like. Even I don't have that reliable of a car to get to drive like 5 hours one way or to bring snacks every week. So it's really nice to have that kind of cushion and to allow students to be able to purchase small items or, snacks or whatever it is, bring them to the facility. And then also when they get out to be able to go out to dinner and really kind of work with the youth. Like for a while in this program, dining and dashing is a thing with this population.
Sure.
And so really kind of modeling, okay, you go to a restaurant, you pay the bill. So I know it sounds simple, but everything we do in this program and in the class is super, super intentional.
There's
so
no
it sounds
wasted
like
movements, no wasted emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it is funded through the Sherwood Foundation.
Sherwood, yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. They it's amazing how much they invest in juvenile justice, and it's something that we're again thankful for. Jordan, what's your favorite thing you've ever done with one of your mentees?
My mentee, when he got released in January, I knew that he was going to face some, I don't know, what do you call it? Face some adversity.
Sure.
Yeah.
Entering back with his friends, going back to his high school, back to his old stomping grounds. So I tried to do something that could make him look forward to the future, and I texted one of my buddies that are on the Nebraska football team, and I set up a tour for him to see what going on a college campus would be like, being on a college football field would be like. He told me he's never even been to Memorial Stadium before, so I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I know, so am I.
And he met with the player, didn't he? I remember seeing a picture.
My friend gave us a whole tour of the locker room, behind the scenes, on the field.
That is so cool.
We met 3 other football players, a couple cheerleaders, went into the weight room.
Did he like the cheerleaders or the players more?
I think he liked the locker room.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's a guy's space.
Yeah. That's really cool. Wow.
It was incredible. We have a picture of it too. So
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds that young man would have had that opportunity if it wasn't for
exactly.
you all? I mean, let's be honest. It wouldn't have happened. That is so cool. Can you hook me up?
Possibly.
Mackenzie, what are some of the things that you enjoy doing, or what's your favorite thing that you do with your mentee?
I love this question because my mentee, a really great thing that the facility did, a horse ranch near the facility in Geneva, they every year allow, I think it's 6 girls to come and participate in an equine program with their horses. So they just basically learn how to work with horses. And then at the end of the program, they invite friends and family of the girls to come, and they do a little show. So each girl and their horse shows a couple of tricks, and my girl loved it. for, I think, every visit when she was a part of that program, she talked about it for at least half the visit. She loved her horse. She loved what it taught her. And what I thought was really cool is something that I struggled with a little bit was getting my girl to focus on, talking about school, talking about what things taught her and something. And she could see so much how those equine skills were going to help her in other aspects of her life and, what she was really learning. I got to hang out with her mom and her sister and one of her friends at the show. And so that was just really great for her. It was an awesome experience.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Dr. Hobbs, is there anything that is in your memory of maybe a special event that has happened with these mentee-mentor relationships, or anything that you can that's off the top of your head?
Yeah, I was gonna say every match is different, and so for the youth, it seems like there's a moment in the match where something comes together. Like when you were speaking, I'll bet you attending that equine program solidified that there's something important that happened at that moment. Mm-hmm. So every match has something different. We've had mentors take their youth to like a family grave. Mm-hmm. We've had youth do things like go to the World Series. So it's so varied. I know, right? Rico's like, sign me up.
God.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they've done some fun stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure it's not always puppies and rainbows. What are some of the tough things that you've seen? Have things ever gone wrong with your relationship that you weren't able to repair, or maybe you were, but it was kind of a stressful time in both of your guys' relationships?
Well, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was when she got out, she didn't really have, she had her foster parents and her boyfriend, and that was kind of it. Her parents weren't in the picture, neither were any of her siblings. So I think probably the most difficult thing I faced is she kept asking me for money.
Yes.
Because she didn't have any, and she couldn't get a job yet because we had to get her birth certificate. Like, we had to get all this paperwork lined up, so she couldn't have a job or anything like that. So I think when she asked me and I was like, no, she was almost taken back. Mm-hmm. And she was like, really, you're doing all this for me, but you can't do this for me. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of getting that across, that's not what I'm here for. And kind of, because it was right when she got released, so kind of reshaping kind of what our relationship was out of the facility was definitely something that I didn't anticipate I would have to do. So I think that was probably the hardest thing, was just kind of reshaping that and be like, I'm here to listen. I'm here for us to go do activities together. I'm here if you ever need someone to talk to or if anything goes wrong, but I'm a broke college student myself.
Right, yes.
So I can't really help you in that area. But I think that kind of got through, and she never really asked me again. So,
and ultimately, it's a teaching opportunity right there. It's a valuable skill that you're able to get across. Jordan, do you have maybe it is all puppies and rainbows with you? I don't know. You're like a big teddy bear over there.
With my mentee, he hasn't been able to stay put in a situation for more than a couple months because of peer influences and bad influences. So the most difficult part was probably building up a trust enough for him to trust me wherever he goes, that he can tell me anything without him getting in trouble, because he's always used to new people, and I was trying to be that one solid person in his life that he could tell anything to, that I'm not going to get him in trouble. I want to be there for him and help him. That was probably the most difficult thing for me.
How hard is it for you guys? I mean, you guys don't have a ton of experience working with kids in the system, and confidentiality is tough. I mean, even my wife is a nurse practitioner, and we have to adhere to confidentiality, and it's tough. I mean, is that hard for you guys, or is Dr. Hobbs? And by the way, it's so hard for me to call her Dr. Hobbs.
Oh yeah, you can call me.
I mean, I haven't called her Dr. Hobbs since I was probably maybe 24. But for Dr. Hobbs, I mean, is that something that she ingrained in you guys? Is that confidentiality is absolute a must?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Oh yeah, I really think that having people in the class that we can talk to and stuff like that. Yeah. So if there was ever an issue, Dr. Hobbs was a text away. We had class time. We met every single Monday. So we had class time to kind of discuss what was going on.
We're all friends.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
sure.
we're all friends too. So like I feel like a lot of the times I'd be driving back from the facility and I'd call Mackenzie and be like, oh my gosh.
Or we'd be together.
We'd be together because we went to the
cool.
facility a lot together. But just like having someone who, even if you don't have a friend in the class, like making friends in the class, and because they're all kind of going through the same thing. So being able to discuss really like what's going on, I think helped, because it is hard not to call my mom and be like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what happened. So I definitely think like having people in the class who like are going through the same thing was definitely I definitely liked having that. So.
And when something really serious comes up, students always have a layer of like a text. Like literally, I've gotten texts at like 11 o'clock on a Friday night and be like, what do I do? You know, my mentee just said, you know, they're going to harm themselves or something really serious. So we always have layers of professionals in the field that are going to respond.
That says a lot about Dr. Hobbs too, though. I mean, she's going to respond to a text at 11 o'clock at night.
This is the only class I allow texting. Just so you know, the only class.
I mean, that just says a lot too. I mean, what you do, Anne, for these kids is truly special. So,
It's a good feeling to know that we can text you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. That
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's definitely because like if anything went wrong, like you're really a text away. So it was you're not alone in this process, like at all. Like it's
you don't feel like that at all.
Oh yeah, it's confusing. You don't know how to react to a lot of the situations because this is new for you too. Yeah. But I mean, like in class, a lot of the time it was really just like discussing what happened to you and like how to kind of work through the problem.
that is so important. I mean,
so important.
You know, just I don't want. It's not about me here, but I mean, just I one of the things I get to overdo is oversee our shelter, and we do see a lot of incidents that happen that has an effect on our staff.
Yes.
Secondary trauma is a real thing.
Yeah.
And to be able to have someone with Anne's history and background and knowledge, and to be able to work with you guys as cohort, your peers and your other students, has got to be huge to be able to talk through some of those instances.
And everyone's mentee is going through something. Too.
Yeah.
And having something weird going on, you know, or a couple of the girls were involved in the same incident in the facility.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, I sit here and I listen, and I want to ask the question, who's getting more out of this, the kids, the mentees, or the mentors? I mean,
depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
right? I mean, because I keep hearing these kids have taught me this, and I have been able to, I mean, that's a huge thing, you know, to have two people that are benefiting from one relationship. That's really, really cool to hear. I'm a little bit interested because, I mean, I just met you guys. You know, George, I've known you for a little while, but I just met you two, and I'm truly, truly impressed with you guys' character and who you are and what you stand for. And if you don't want to say where you're from or a little bit of history about you guys, that's fine. But I'm interested to know a little bit more. I mean, Palmer, where do you reside from? Are you from Nebraska, born and raised? Or?
I am actually from Minnesota.
Okay, next person. So I'm just kidding. Okay, you're from Minnesota.
Yes, from Minnesota. I was not born there. I mean, I've lived there most of my life. But from Minnesota, absolutely. My mom went to Nebraska for college, so
You're getting there.
Yeah.
You're getting there.
She actually tricked me into touring. I was like dead set on going to North Carolina because I wanted to get the farthest away from like the Midwest winters that I could. So my heart was dead set on North Carolina, and my mom we came down here to visit my mom's best friend who still lives in Lincoln, who she actually met here at Nebraska. Cool. And they were like, let's go downtown. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, let's go downtown. Thinking it was like, because I'm from basically a suburb out of St. Paul. Sure. So thinking, oh yeah, like it's St. Paul, Minneapolis, like let's go downtown. But downtown is the campus. Yeah. So they kind of took me around. They gave me their tour. Mm-hmm. So like,
so you had to listen to old stories.
Here.
Yeah.
Kind of all of those stories. But we actually were able to somehow, it was in the summer, so we were able to go into the stadium and just fell in love with here.
Awesome.
So it was, this place was the only place I applied to. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of, I fell in love and I was like, I'm going here. And 4 years later, still loving it.
All right.
Nebraska versus Gophers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nebraska, 100%,
Okay. All right.
100%. All of my friends will get so angry with me because the Gophers they did pretty well this year, and I'm like, I kind of hope they lose. And they're like,
I'll ask
why?
her about Nebraska versus Ohio State, though.
Oh.
Okay, let's go to Mackenzie.
So no, I am not. I am not from here. I'm from a tiny town in central Kansas, Burton, Kansas.
Okay.
Don't look it up. Same as Palmer again. I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to go to college in Kansas. So visited here, fell in love with it, fell in love with the campus, and
Cool.
Well, I am from Lincoln, Nebraska. I went to Southwest High School, and that's when
Hobbs.
yes, sir. And that's when I decided when I wanted to work in the criminal justice department. My dad is a criminal defense attorney here in Lincoln as well, so that's where I kind of get the criminal justice vibes from. Like, I like being with the sketchy people and stuff like that.
Oh, gee.
What?
You're hanging out with us.
That's right.
Not you, the criminal justice people. So,
So I have to tell you guys, the juvenile reentry project mentoring project is special to me too. Every year we get the chance to talk with Ann, and she generally has a long list of recommendations on who would be a good employee at Cedars. And God, I wish I had the number in front of me, but I bet you it's upward to 7 to 8 kids that we've hired that have gone through Ann's program, and there's a reason for that. It's not because we needed a warm body, I can tell you that. It's because we know they're prepared. We know that they've spent time in the classroom and they've learned from Ann, and they've spent time, face to face with these young people. They come in and they're ready, and it's such a nice transition to have. I'll be honest. I don't believe, and this is the honest to God truth. I don't believe that we've hired somebody that was a mentor that has gone bad. We have various programs at Cedars, and whether it's not one of my programs or it is one of my programs, I want to get these students on board. So if anybody's interested, we have openings.
graduating in 2 weeks.
There you go. You sticking around?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good for you. What else? What else do we want to talk about the Juvenile Reentry Mentoring Project? Anything that you guys want to say that you haven't had a chance to say, or tell us how awesome Ann is, or
No.
I actually wanted to shout out Dr. Hobbs. I know I talked a little bit earlier about, the classroom aspect, but I just think that she puts so much into this program and really cares about the kids. And like I said, you feel like you can email her about anything, talk to her about anything. I think me and Palmer have talked about, we think of her as like kind of a lifelong mentor, in our lives now that we've had her as a professor and stuff. So just, you're awesome. Thanks for everything you do for these kids.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, no,
This-
it's you go.
I've learned a lot more than a majority of my other college classes in this class, and it was once a week. So, I mean, it's just-
and life experiences.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
not
yeah,
just
I'm more prepared to work with kids after this class than my juvenile delinquency sit-down class.
It's so much
Yeah.
better than any other elective can get you.
hopefully your other professors aren't listening. They'll all probably say Ann's the best too. So
even if they are.
Well, I just want to say your passion for this shines through, and it's honestly so inspiring.
Script.
I absolutely love the class. It taught me life lessons. Like I really don't know who got more out of the match, if it was me or my mentee. Sure. But it's been an amazing experience, and like I said, you kind of are our like lifetime mentor. But yeah, I really appreciate everything that you have done for us and these kids.
I promise you that Ann is not sick and is not not leaving us. But I do too. I will also express my gratitude for Dr. Hobbs and what she has done for the juvenile justice system in the state of Nebraska. I've been lucky enough to be involved for the past 15 years, and I think it's probably about how long I've known Ann, and she's always has the best interest of the kids at heart, and that's something that we need more of. So Thank you from
You're
Cedars as well,
Yeah.
Dr. Hobbs. What else?
I was going to say,
Please,
the
please.
coolest thing that I think is happening now is, so when students work in the class, then they come together like with the team. And so they may work with an attorney, they may work with a probation officer, they may work with law enforcement. So we're starting to bump into our mentors now as the professionals. So just last week I reached out when I was trying to arrange a team meeting, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know you, you're one of my mentors. And it was a probation officer.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see kind of mentors are hitting the workforce, and I love it because they have a different mindset. They've seen
You really do.
So
Yeah.
So Dr. Hobbs, you mentioned on an email a funny story of what happened with the mentee mentor. Can we share that, or can we not?
So which funny story was
the one that you told us about?
Okay, yeah. So mistakes do happen, right?
And there'll be no names here.
Yes, no names. I think I can say though this student did go on to be a probation officer.
I love it.
But and wasn't even the one I was thinking about. But so sometimes students are put in a position where they have to make a decision right in the moment, and they don't text me first, and I would
And
say,
their kids too.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, guys, but you are kids.
always text
still
me
make
first.
mistakes.
No. So one time we did have a mentee. She spoke with the mom, and then she and her a mentor went with her mentee, and they went and got matching tattoos. And so that was a no. Like, we don't want that to happen. But she did check with a parent, but it turned out that she didn't check with the caseworker. So that was a no. But so that hasn't happened since, because a teachable moment. I'm sure I told every class that since. Like, by the way, don't go get a tattoo. So yeah. So that we've only had a handful of things. For the most part, matches go off. Things go really well.
And when's the next set of applicants? When can they look to join the class?
Well, and we're on 5 campuses now, so
That's crazy. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So UNK started working with us probably 4 years ago, which that works really well for Kearney. Doane has been on board. Wesleyan will start up in the fall. Nebraska Wesleyan's coming on board. And then UNL and then UNO. So we're recruiting right now for UNL and UNO and UNK. So students will probably hear about it or see a flyer, and then they come in and do interviews anytime between like January, February, March.
Well, and this is a huge forum for that. I mean, this podcast, we have, juvenile justice does not just obviously stop in Lincoln and Omaha and Grand Island. It's a statewide process, and people in Kearney, please encourage your students to talk to Dr. Hobbs if they're interested. The fact that it has that much traction is getting super cool. And would you be comfortable putting your stating your contact information?
No way. I'm going to give them yours. No, it's Ann Hobbs. So it's AHOBBS at unomaha.edu, or you can call me at 402-476-0113.
Jordan, you want to give your number? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't.
He was ready.
I was ready.
Should call me.
What else, guys? Anything else? I mean, this has been a blast. I mean, I've really enjoyed getting to know you three. Again, I can't say enough about what you guys are doing, and I can't wait to see. And please keep me updated. I can't wait to see what these three do.
I know. It's so fun. It really is. There's 200 students now that we track, and I warn every student, I'll be following you for years. So I do. I follow up, and you get emails. And but the other thing that's cool, too, is we have youth that like they'll lose contact with their mentor for like a year or two. They'll go on run and then I'll hear from a student. They'll be like, Sally, that's a pseudonym. Sally texted me at 3 a.m. last night and wanted to know what I was doing. And we're like, okay. So it's kind of, I think with, technology, these matches don't have to end. Mm-hmm. They just turn into more of an electronic or a Facebook match or, but it's good. The student or the youth knows that the student is kind of always a text away.
So you mentioned, and I don't know how long we want to continue on here, but I'm not ready to stop talking about this project yet. But, you mentioned social media a couple times.
Yes.
That can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. There's boundaries that we have to consider. And how do you get that point across with your mentors?
So, boundaries, it's not just social medium. So in the facility, the match really starts just at a table face to face and there's no technology. It's really once the mentee gets out of the facility that we start exploring the use of technology. But we've had mentees that kind of over attach and then call their mentor at work like every day. So those are what we discuss in class on Monday, and every case is case by case. Like, how do you delicately set every single boundary? So whether that's like multiple texts or multiple phone calls, all of that has to be established in the match. So, but with regard to technology, I don't know. We just deal with it as it comes in.
Sure. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else you guys want? Whose first podcast is this? Yeah,
Me?
It's episode 3 and it's my 3rd.
Nice.
Wow, you seem like a professional.
No.
Yeah.
Tracy, next week or next podcast topic is legislators, right?
We'll be talking with the legislators next week. So
And
we should drop
have we
shortly after that.
have we confirmed who they are? Can I put those 2 names on
I know
air?
of 2.
Okay, so it sounds like Senator Vargas will be here to join us, and we'll talk about some legislative issues that are coming up for the upcoming session, as well as Senator Pansing Brooks, 2 of my favorite and 2 of the some of the most active when it comes to child welfare, juvenile justice topics. So really looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get that out by the end of next month. Again, huge thank you to the Sherwood Foundation. This has been a blast, guys. I can't wait to see what you guys do next, whether it's here in Nebraska or up in that place called Minnesota. But anyway, no, thank you guys all. Signing off.
Thank you so
looking
much.
forward to
Thank
episode
you.
4. Check us out, njja.org. All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Bye.
Podcasts are all I listen to when on my drives.
Yes, that's
You
so
and
cool.
me both. Hey, everybody out there, subscribe. The best way to get our podcast, subscribe. It's Juvenile Justice in Nebraska. Check it out, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. If you're one of them poor saps that uses a Droid, go to the Google Play Store. Check it out.